Welcome, everybody, to Hot Takes on the Lake. I'm Josh, joined here by your host, Nick, and we are two lifelong Browns fans. Today, we are going to be previewing the Browns' most likely, probably 95% plus likely, last primetime game of the year, the last guaranteed one, and that is Monday Night Football this Monday against the Bengals at home on Halloween. Nick, let's just start there. I'm a really big fan of Halloween. I actually took the day off of work. I know you're a big fan as well. So are you even planning on watching this game?
I mean, yes, Halloween is my favorite holiday, and I would much rather watch the original, 1978 Halloween than watch this game. But I will be watching watching the game, and yeah, it's just
It might be scarier. This game might be scarier.
it honestly might be. I think Michael Myers chasing you with a knife is pretty scary, but what's even scarier is letting Jamar Chase and T Higgins and these guys just wide open all over the field all night. So you might have a point there, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, definitely the last primetime game, especially the way this season's been going. The last primetime game for sure of this year. So we might as well enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah. But I don't know if it's going to be an enjoyable experience, at least for Browns fans. This is going to be one of those games where I just hope to God we get our running game going. And I'm actually going to look up how the Bengals have been against the run because I'm not sure. I'm going to look into that. But hopefully we can get the run game going because that's our only hope, not even to win this game, but that's our only hope to just make it close and not be embarrassed. I mean, if we can keep the ball, if we can chew the clock, and we can win the time of possession battle, hopefully we can prevent the Bengals from scoring 40 points. Now, I'm not going to be all doom and gloom here. I'm going to talk about, some positives and stuff that I think could go well, but overall, I've almost done a complete 180. I said this in our recap episode of the last game. I was thinking we were going to sweep the Bengals this year, regardless of who the quarterback is. I was thinking the Bengals were going to regress and the Ravens were going to win the division this year. But after seeing both how the Bengals have been and how the Browns have been, I have no confidence in us winning this game.
Yeah, I don't either. Again, I kind of look at this and talk about this every week from a very much like a fan's perspective, just like in your local bar. I don't really know the X's and O's and all that type of stuff. I just kind of just go off of emotion. So I don't know what we've done the last couple of years to seem to always play well against the Bengals. Blowing them out. I think it was last year, right from the get go. Denzel Ward started off with that pick six. So I don't really know what has been going on with the Bengals. Why we always seem to get up against them and just always seem to play well. But I don't have a lot of confidence in this game. Again, it comes down to the running game. Like you said, if we don't establish it early, they're only giving up, 19 points a game. So I think just with all their weapons and with Joe Burrow and with their good defense, it's going to be important to rely on the running game. And again, just control the time of possession. That's one thing that you can, hold over another team that's clearly better and more talented than you are, is not letting their offense get into a good rhythm, keeping your defense off the field as much as you can, and just controlling the clock. And I think that starts with Chubb. And, again, maybe Hunt will be traded by then. Who even knows if he'll still be on the team. But, I mean, if you have him, you might as well use him. So, I mean, just with those two, just control the time of possession as much as you can.
And I believe the trade deadline, is it after the day after this game? It's next week, right?
I believe so.
I'll look that up, but yeah, I mean, he might be gone, as you said, and maybe even some other players, and not in like a tank kind of way. We're not tanking, but just in that we know they're not going to be here next year, so there's no point in keeping him if we can get anything for them, if we think we're not going to make the postseason. And I respect that from Andrew Berry in our front office. If they decide to do that, I would love to have Hunt the rest of the year. I've really enjoyed his time here in Cleveland, but, it is what it is at this point, and he deserves to get paid. And we're, paying a quarterback like $50 million for the first time ever, so we can't really afford to have a bunch of running backs anymore. But yeah, go back to this game. By the way, I looked it up. The Bengals, their run defense is probably the worst part. Well, not probably. It is the worst part of their team, of their defense especially, but they're not, like, terrible. I mean, they're better than us. They average 120 yards allowed in the rushing game, which is bottom half of the league, but it's not, like, bottom 5 or anything, and they're pretty darn good when it comes to passing defense and points allowed per game. So they're pretty good statistical defense, and they looked not great at the beginning of the year, but they've really progressed since then. And in my opinion, I mean, the Joe Burrow Jamar Chase duo might be the most deadly duo in the league. Like, they are so connected, it's nuts. I mean, Jamar Chase has 6 touchdowns, 600 yards on the year, and it's like almost every single time the Bengals are coming up on red zone, it's Burrow just throwing a bomb to Jamar Chase. And I can't, the only person I think on our team that even has a chance of covering him would be Denzel Ward, and I don't even know if he's going to be playing in this game. So this could be a 2, maybe even 3 touchdown game for Jamar Chase, and yeah, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, even besides him, Joe Mixon is a good running back. He's not obviously on the level of Nick Chubb or anything, but he's a good running back. He can also catch the ball a little bit. Joe Burrow, obviously, but guys like Higgins and I think Tyler Boyd, he's still on the team as well. Guys like that who, like Denzel, if he's out there, with the concussion, I don't know what his status is right now. If he's not out there, this is going to be pretty bad, I think. If he's out there, it's still going to be tough, just with the lack of really in the secondary, just in general, but especially the safeties just always seem to be out of position. It's really going to be scary if Chase or any of these other guys can win a one-on-one battle and go deep. They're just going to have no help over the top, it seems like. But without Denzel Ward, I shiver at the fact that you'd have to throw a rookie like Emerson onto Jamar Chase or somebody like that. Or like I said, even the other receivers and guys like that are still deadly in their own right. But Jamar Chase is so good, one of the best in the league. So this is really a game where, like you said last week, there was that Joe Woods interview where like, oh, it just comes down to a few plays. Well, you better make sure if those few plays in this game, go your way, because this could get ugly fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we always say that what's the worst thing to happen to this team in a game is to get down multiple scores early. And the Bengals are a team that can do that to you. And I think, Denzel made a great play that you brought up from last year when he had that pick 6. But remember, on that opening drive, it was the Bengals going all the way down the field on us and then eventually throwing that pick 6, and then their very next drive scoring a touchdown. So you take away that one excellent play from Ward, which, it was just a good play by him. That's all it really was. You take that away, we could have been down 14-0 in that game. Now, obviously, we ended up kind of taking that game away in many ways. But just you think about the possibility of that. This is a team that I would not be shocked if we end up down 0-14, 0-17, even 0-21, in the first quarter of this game, and that would be awful. I think that the only thing about us that is kind of slept on is because our running game is so good that if we do get down early, even though that that's not a good spot for us, in the second half of games we do have a tendency to be able to come back and make it competitive, because when a team is up really high, they tend to not really go after the run as much because they're going to play more relaxed defense, and that's where, because we're just so good, Nick Chubb can score on any running play. So if you're not really focused on him, that's when he's had a lot of those long runs, and it could bring us back in. But that's playing, I'm not trying to play 4D chess here. Like, that's thinking way ahead of the game. Let's not get down big early to start with, and we won't even have to rely on that. But yeah, I really see no answer, not just from the Browns, but from really most teams in the league. There's maybe 5 teams in the league that can handle the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase combo, and so I'm not blaming the Browns too much for that. Sometimes you just go up against a team that has an insanely good player or players, and I just think, this is one of those teams, and they're in our division, so we're going to have to deal with it every year for the several years to come. Hopefully we'll have a better team the next time we face them later this year, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you have anything that you can think of, like bright spots or ways that the Browns can execute and win this game? Because obviously we can sit here and just say the run game and pressure on Burrow, right? But that's what every single team in the league would probably say. So I don't know.
I would say, honestly, again, I already said it before, but I think just time of possession, just controlling the clock, again, not letting them get into any sort of rhythm on offense, and getting, especially if, God forbid, Denzel Ward and if Clowney's banged up again, Again, Miles Garrett can't do it all on defense himself. So keeping those guys off the field as much as you can, and just limiting those big plays. And again, letting them not get up early. I think it's going to be imperative, like you said, because this is a team where you get down early, your confidence starts to wane. You get away from the run game, and just start throwing the ball all over the field. That could get ugly really fast, and be down big at halftime. So I think honestly, just playing your game, starting with the run game, controlling the time of clock will be the best course of action to win this game and come out on top, because that's just a great team. And we're just keep raving about the offense. Their defense is still great too as well. Obviously they're great in the passing game, which hopefully Brissett takes care of the ball like he did last week. Doesn't try to do too many deep shots. Um, doesn't throw any interceptions. And hopefully the offensive line plays better this week. Keeps him upright, doesn't give up 5 sacks again. We were kind of on a tear there, having a couple of good games, keeping him upright, keeping him clean. Had a rough game last week, so this is another one where it's really going to be important to make sure he has good, clean pockets, give him time to throw, because he's not going to have Njoku out there, which is one of his big targets. And apparently, we're not going to run the ball with Kareem, it seems like, and we're probably not going to use him in the screen game at all, anyways. So there's another weapon that really is gone away for Brissett. So I think really just time of possession is the best course of action. Pretty much the only way I think we're able to come out on top of is just dominating that with the run game.
I think another interesting thing to point out, and this doesn't really have anything to do with this game necessarily in particular, but this is the Browns' last home game for almost a month. And then our next home game is actually the game against the Buccaneers the week after Thanksgiving, the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And that's the last game before Deshaun Watson comes in. Now, he has a couple of away games before he plays at home. But, again, you talk about this 4-game stretch that we have over the next 5 weeks because of the bye week that we have next week in there as well. I know home field advantage isn't everything, but you look at it, this could be one of those games where if you're going to get some wins in this 4-game stretch, this is when you want to get a win. Now, all 4 of these games are going to be insanely tough and hard to win. But if you're going to get one, this is at home. It's a divisional game. We've beaten the Bengals a lot in the last few years. So, obviously we're not 2 brand new teams here. We obviously have something, whether it's schematically or whatever the case it is, that we have an upper hand there. Let's keep that going. And I think also going into a bye week would be great to have that momentum. Going into a bye, it's always good to get a win, to be positive going into that, because if you go into the bye week 2-6, I mean, you could say we already have no hope, but if you go into the bye week 2-6, yeah, it's a wrap this season, like 100%. It's a wrap this season, because if you go 2-6, I would even go as far as to say if you go 2-6 after this game, it's more likely you're going to go 2-9 than getting any other wins, because what motivation does this team have to play, in those 3 games against our toughest stretch of the schedule? Dolphins on the road, Bills on the road, then Bucks at home. Like, what motivation do we have? So I do think the game is important in that sense, but I'm not going to predict the Browns to win. I'm going to go 31-17 Bengals. Don't think it's going to be close. I do see the Bengals getting up early, and then just kind of leading with that the entire game. I think the Browns will get some scores. Hopefully Nick Chubb gets some more touchdowns to continue leading the league there. But the last thing I'll say before I throw it to you for your final prediction, if the Bengals do not get up early, if we're able to repeat our performance we have in a lot of games this year where we're going into halftime and it's, 10-7 or 7-3 or whatever, and no one's really taking the upper hand, then you have to punch the gas. That second half becomes the most important second half of your season, because if the game's not already out of your hands at that point, you have to make it matter, because you're clearly doing something right enough in that game that you can get the win. So if you come out and just get the brakes blown off you from the start, it's going to suck, but I'm not going to blame you as much. If you come out and have another 1-possession game that you lose, then I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And to your point, yeah, if we lose this game, it could easily just snowball into 2-9 really fast. And I mean, we're 2-5 right now. You're already seeing, the team start to crack. We talked about, that shouting match that was overheard last week after the game. And you even before that, you already heard guys calling each other out, basically in the media, saying guys aren't doing their job, they're not putting in the extra work, coaches aren't putting in the extra work and whatnot. So it's already bad now, and a loss, especially a bad loss going into a bye week, and having another week to let it sit and just have the stench on them. I really think it's just going to poison that locker room even more. And you could just have again, like you said, just what's their incentive to play? We think they're not giving a great effort right now. Just wait until you're 2-7, 2-8. It's going to get even worse. There's going to be basically no effort, and it's not even going to matter when Deshaun Watson comes back. Whether he plays or not. I mean, guys are just not going to care at that point. So, I think this again, not to make the playoffs or anything or make a serious run at it, but just to not have a complete mutiny on their hands. I think this has to be a must win. But unfortunately, I am going to pick the Browns to lose again. I just think there's too many things stacked against them, too much internal strife, and just too much talent on the other side. And just lack of great play calling and lack of a consistent defense. I really just don't think it's going to work out in our favor. I'll go with 33-20 as the final score. We always manage to get 20 points somehow, so I'll just stick with 20. But
Fair enough.
I think the Bengals at least get over 30 points. It might even be worse than that. Again, if they get up early and especially right before halftime, it's like I just feel like by halftime, if it's at least a 14 to 17 point game, the second half is just going to go downhill really fast. And like I said, we think the effort is bad now. Just wait until until it gets really worse. Guys are just going to not give any effort whatsoever. They're not going to care if guys are wide open. They're not going to care what their assignment is. And against these good teams, they could rack up some really big time losses as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And this might be a weird take, or a lot of people might not agree with this, but if you do win the coin toss, maybe defer, maybe don't take the ball first. I mean, it hasn't been. I know that we're good at opening drives and we score almost every time, but hasn't really been working out for you in the long run. Maybe be better to get that instead of having that great opening drive. Maybe open up the second half with that great drive. Just a thought. I don't know. Just a thought. Bengals open. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know what the stat is. Obviously, I could be wrong in this, but if it seems like whenever we take the ball first, and the other team is going down right before halftime, it's like, okay, they're obviously going to score, and then they're going to come right out in the third quarter and score another touchdown. It just, again, that might not have happened to us many times. I just had that feeling just because I'm just like, of course that would happen. Yeah. We're just going to give it 14 unanswered points right back to back, so why wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, analytic wise, I don't know what the right answer is. I'm sure there's some stat out there, 60% of the time, whatever it is. I'm sure it's closer to 50%. It's not going to be some crazy 80-20 thing, or every team would defer, right? Right. But that's not the answer. But I do think, if you're a good team that can score right before half and come right back out and score, that is huge. I mean, that you can't deny that. So, all right, I think that's going to be it. I did want to show this off. I got this little zombie Browns player, so I'll have this guy with me when we're watching the game on Monday night. But yeah, I mean, this might be the last game, if things don't go well, the last game this year that we have any kind of hope at all for postseason. I'd be interested to see what the last team that started 2-6 that made the playoffs, does that exist? I don't know. I'm sure someone did it, but yeah, it'll be an interesting game, and battle for Ohio on Halloween. I don't know if that's ever happened or if it'll ever happen again. So at least in that respect, it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, it's fitting you have that Browns zombie guy because our defense at times looks like The Walking Dead. So, all right. You set me up for it. It was too easy.
This is John Johnson defending the run.
Guys are going this way. He's just going this way with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's just like I wish this was like a 1:00 game on a Sunday. Just get it over with early, but they're gonna make us wait until prime time on Monday night.
Yep.
But yeah, if it gets podcast be damned. If this gets ugly early, like I said, I'm turning on one of the Halloween movies, and that'll be so I can at least enjoy my favorite holiday of the year and not have to watch this garbage.
Yeah, for sure. Or maybe just get enjoy yourself a lot earlier on in the day, and then you just already be, ready to go to bed by the time the game comes on. That too.
There you go.
Uh,
Yeah.
but okay, well, that's gonna be our thoughts for the game. Whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening on a podcast platform, make sure to subscribe so you can join us for our recap after the game happens. Obviously, next week is the bye week, so we'll probably just do a recap unless it gets really ugly, and then maybe we'll just wait. We'll just wait to come back, but we'll see what happens. But regardless, for that second stretch of the year, we'll be here every week. So make sure to subscribe. Join us here on Hot Takes on the Lake.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching and subscribing again. The Twitter, as always, is Hot Takes 216. The other social medias are Hot Takes on the Lake. Enjoy the game. Happy Halloween. If you have kids, do trick or treating. That's always fun. And just like I said, if it gets ugly early, turn on a good horror movie, and that'll be better than anything that's happening at Cleveland Browns Stadium downtown. So enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you guys next week.